This is Oft Off Topic, a show where two men with the attention spans of a squirrel try and fail to stay on topic with today's subject. Where will their oral meanderings take us? Well, stick around and listen, because today's Oft Off Topic is... ALF. Yes, that lovable cat-eating scamp from the faraway planet of Melmac who captured our hearts and Nielsen ratings from 1986 through 1989. Nate, what do you know about ALF?
ALF was amazing. I remember he is actually one of my core memories is watching ALF while like holding a doll and just like really enjoying it. I couldn't tell you what episode it was, but I just remember like really being into ALF. I mean, okay, I was into Teenage Mutant Turtles and like stuff like that more than ALF, but in terms of just like one of my favorite things to watch, when it came on primetime was ALF. I love that show.
Yeah, it was one of those few shows on primetime TV that kids could actually like. Because I remember back then, for the most part, thinking primetime TV was kind of boring for kids. Shows like Cheers and the such. But then ALF came along and it's like, hey, this is kind of kid-oriented.
I mean, it was inappropriate a lot of times. But I mean, looking back, but then again, it was 80s, so a lot of things were inappropriate. But,
yeah.
I don't know. I really did enjoy it. I have very fond memories of ALF.
Same here. I remember pretty much the same thing. Being excited for new episodes, seeing all the cool merchandise and cameos on other shows. He had cartoons, comics, video games. My God, he was everywhere, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you now. They're like, and he was a Nazi. Like, well, damn it.
Oh, actually, we are going to talk about a racist rant that emerged from ALF a few years ago. So there's that
Huzzah.
One. Yeah. And we're also going to talk about which actor's life ALF probably destroyed. Let's see. We got an epic ALF crossover that we got denied, and we're going to learn out why. And how ALF's cancellation allowed for one of the most talked about moments of 2022. All that on this episode of Oft Off Topic.
Can I guess? What was the dad? Because I don't remember seeing the dad ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, actually kind of was. He actually did do some stuff after ALF, though, so... He wasn't completely destroyed from ALF. Yep. He did some other stuff like he was on the Norm Macdonald show. The Norm Show. Remember that?
The Norm Macdonald show?
Yeah, it was like 99 through 2000. It did not last long. It had Artie Lang in it.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
He was also the store manager and or the Central Perk manager in Friends. Yep. And I only know this from the episodes the research I did.
Okay, I gotcha. I mean, he must have like popped in there real quick. He's like, ta-da, here I am.
I think he was there for a season, maybe. It wasn't like a long-term thing.
Gotcha.
Anywho, here we go. Our story starts January 29th, 1953 in New Haven, Connecticut, USA. ALF creator Paul Fusco emerges from his mother with one thing on his mind, having a hit network primetime show starring a wisecracking puppet. However, being a newborn, he was unable to achieve this dream until later in life, so the wee baby Fusco knew this, and thus bid his time and honed his craft until the time was right. By the time he graduated high school, Fusco was a good enough puppeteer/ventriloquist/musician that he was actually able to use these skills to pay his way through college, doing various acts and shows for people, which is really impressive, but kind of gets knocked down a little bit when you realize college was kind of a fraction of the price back in the 70s. Still, good for him, though. It was through these gigs that he met fellow college students Bob Fapiano and his wife Lisa Buckley, and soon the three started working as a team. Bob was a puppet maker and puppeteer, and Lisa was also a puppeteer, and together they were the Three Puppeteers, and eventually had a candy bar named after them, I believe. In the early 80s, this platonic polyamorous puppet posse would become part of the Imagicon Studios, who would make some puppet shows for the likes of HBO and Showtime in the early 80s. Among these shows were The Crown of Bog, The Valentine's Day That Almost Wasn't, Santa's Magic Toy Bag, and a few other little guys. You can find all these videos on YouTube. I watched The Crown of Bog, and it's actually pretty good for what it is. A little low-budget puppet show. It's about a kingdom of one puppets getting overthrown by evil puppets, and, the trials and tribulations within. And a fun fact, the bad guys on this kind of look like the Skeksis from The Dark Crystal. Sort of like a cross between the Skeksis and Gonzo from the Muppets. So, that was kind of neat. Or I guess the Skeksis kind of look like these guys, because this came out about a year earlier.
Okay. So
yeah. Or possibly Fusco and his crew were on a Willy Wonka-style tour of the Muppet Studios, and they had like an everlasting gobstopper moment, but with designs for an evil puppet. Jim Henson was like, this is our new villain puppet for a movie coming up. Don't steal these ideas. And they're like, wah ha ha ha.
I mean, there's only so many. It's like those, like music, you hear one song And like that sounds like another song. Really, there's only so much stuff you can do with like
Yeah,
certain
and
chords
also
and
too,
whatnot.
like villain 101 means they got to have like sharp lines and a certain look to them, kind of
Right.
thing. Whereas like good guys have like the pudgy round look, which they did in this show actually. The good guys were round and pudgy, and the bad guys were sharp and angular.
Well, there you go. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's probably just coincidence.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
it
who?
is. I'm
Yeah.
just writing a joke.
Oh well, no, I mean, I was agreeing with you. It's probably coincidence. I mean, meanwhile, like many years ago, there was some ninja snuck into like Jim Henson's house, like, haha, I know what we're gonna
Yes,
do.
exactly. During the 4 years that these shows were being produced, Fusco started working on his own puppet idea and honing in on a wisecracking and snarking fellow who would be rude and crude and make jokes with the boys. Kind of a more adult-oriented puppet than you're used to at the time. He would actually take around this new puppet and test it out on friends and family at family gatherings and the such, pulling pranks on people, cutting jokes on people, and just seeing how they reacted. Apparently, most of the family members were kind of annoyed by this. Nobody really liked Fusco dragging around a puppet that would make fun of them and pull pranks on them. But Fusco was undeterred. He was busy creating, and if his family had to be annoyed so Alf may flourish, so be it. And annoyed they were. Oh, and also, initially, Al's voice was going to sound like Rolf from The Muppet Show, but Fusco realized that that is way too hard on the vocal cords to be doing all the time, so he nixed that one in a hurry. Which is
Yeah, I
true.
get that.
Yeah,
I
that
get
gravelly
that.
voice thing, that kills you. People don't realize it, but woohoo. It can also destroy your vocal cords if you're not good.
Reading to my daughter at night, sometimes like I'll make voices, and the one voice, I don't know if you've ever seen the pigeon, like, don't let the pigeon drive the bus, or don't let or was it don't let the pigeon do this, don't let the pigeon do that. They're really cute, like short stuff. Well, the voice I gave this pigeon is like, I no, like it's sustaining it past like 20 or so short pages with it only says a few things per page. I couldn't do it. I mean, it was stuff like, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm gonna talk like this and things and pigeons. Don't let me do. Ugh, see already. Like I could do. Yeah, I do that voice, and it works. I can cough or whatever, and she loves it, and it's fine. But yeah, I do. For a minute there, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this one of my animations with this voice. I'm like, never mind.
2 seconds into it, you're like, nope, nope, nope. That's not going to work.
I mean, if I was getting paid to do it, oh, dude, I'd kill my vocal cords for that. But it's just, for a little animation that no one's even appreciate, and not or even see. Yeah, it's like whatever. I'll just do my old voice.
So, we're at about 1984 now, and all those shows that they were doing for the Magicon Studios have run their course, their contracts are up, and Fusco decides that it is now time to start shopping Alf around and see if he can get buyers for the idea. First up was Disney, and they actually liked the idea of Alf. In fact, they offered to buy Alf outright from Paul. However, Alf was Paul's baby and he wasn't going to sell it to anyone. Alf and Fusco were a package deal, as Fusco insisted he retain any and all rights to Alf. He might have actually been paying attention to that Howard the Duck lawsuit a few years earlier, because it's about the same time period, and a lot of people with ownership rights were watching that case.
Yeah, that was a smart play.
Yeah, it really was. It'll come in to be kind of smart later, too. My opinion, probably best Disney didn't buy it. They probably would have dropped the ball. It's not like 80s Disney was peak Disney at that time. Especially since it's more of a adult-oriented puppet idea kind of thing. Yeah. Fusco then shops the idea of Alf to agent and producer Bernie Brillstein. Bernie was the executive producer on Blues Brothers and Ghostbusters, as well as Jim Henson's agent, and Fusco figured he'd be a good person to target. Initially, Brillstein turned down the Alf idea as he considered Jim Henson the best and only real puppeteer that he wanted as a client, and didn't want lesser puppeteers sullying his good name or his client list. However, after some soul searching, Brillstein decided that Alf was indeed for him. And by soul searching, I mean he realized Alf didn't have to be good to be merchandisable, and the merchandising potential for a wisecracking alien puppet aimed at adults was through the roof. Brillstein then set up Paul Fusco with another one of his clients, a man named Tom Pratchett, who did a lot of work with Jim Henson and the Muppets, namely co-writing The Muppet Movie and Muppets Take Manhattan. Paul, Bernie, and Tom would then form the studio Alien Productions, and Paul would also bring along friends we talked about earlier, Bob Fapiano and Lisa Buckley. The Fab Four of Paul, Tom, Bob, and Lisa got right to work hammering out all the story details for Alf's show and the logistics for bringing that puppet right to life. Story-wise, we get Gordon Shumway, a 230-year-old orbit guard from the recently exploded planet Melmac, who crash lands on Earth into the Tanner family's house, lives, and hearts. Half would be a wisecracking, beer-drinking, cat-eating, possibly racist alien, as we talked about earlier, who is indeed to be more of an adult-oriented character than for kids. At least that was the intention anyway.
So wait, his planet was destroyed? Like Superman's? I mean, I guess I didn't realize his planet was destroyed. I just remember, again, I forgot a lot about the show.
So from nuclear war, the most 80s of ways to blow up a planet.
Oh, there you go. It's pretty dark.
After hammering out the storyline, Brillstein knew exactly who would be interested in this show. NBC. It's currently 1985, and just a few years ago, NBC was a laughingstock of the big three networks and on a long, long losing streak. In fact, in 1983, all 9 of the new shows that NBC launched for that season tanked horribly. Examples of that? Coneheads, the animated series, which I never knew existed. I watched the starting episode of it, or I tried to. It has a laugh track, Nate, so that should tell you a lot about it right there.
The animated show had a laugh track?
Yeah, Coneheads did.
Well, I mean, I
guess.
Well,
Flintstones did, I guess, but I mean,
yeah,
still.
as did Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, which I thought was stupid too then, so, I mean, just because they do it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
True.
Yes. And Coneheads, the animated series, was just flat out bad. It did have Dan Aykroyd's voice, though, and Jane Curtin's voice in it. That was kind of impressive. Another example of the movies or shows that they released that year? Manimal, the cop who could turn himself into any animal to solve crime. I was unable to find a full episode of that online, and I didn't really want to, but you can find full clips of the Manimal transformations throughout the entire series, where he turns into like a cat or a bird, and then solves cat or bird-related crimes, I'm guessing. Yeah, it looked really bad. But shortly after this horrible, horrible season, new president Peter Tartikoff started to turn things around for NBC by greenlighting exciting and thrilling action-packed new shows such as A-Team, Knight Rider, and Punky Brewster. Riding high on this run of hits, Tartikoff decided to take a chance on ALF and orders a pilot for the 1986 season. Fusco and crew get right to work on shooting the pilot. It's a huge amount of effort at first, as they had to construct a custom set to shoot the show so they could accommodate the puppet crew. What they wound up creating was a set full of open pits, tunnels, and trapdoors for the puppeteers to get where they're going to and be able to, just like hide out of sight. And little trapdoors so they could pop up in and out wherever they wanted. And this kind of made for a very hazardous set because those little pits were 4 feet deep. So if you weren't paying attention to where you're going, you had a nice 4-foot fall in your future. Or if they accidentally left like a trap door open randomly. So not only did you have to act and wander around the set, you had to be very mindful of where you were because 4-foot fall ain't fun, man.
No, I would say 4-foot fall doesn't sound like much, but it's something. I mean,
it could send you to the hospital if you're not.
If you're not anticipating it, if suddenly the floor fell out from under you and you drop 4 feet and like without prep, man, yeah, you could break a leg.
Yeah, oh yeah, very much so. Especially if you land like head first or put your arms out to stop you. Not good times.
That would no bueno.
Yeah. No serious injuries were reported, but plenty of regular injuries were reported. Yeah, right.
No serious. It's all good.
Not enough to get the lawyers involved is what I'm thinking that means.
Exactly.
It wasn't serious because we were able to settle out of court.
Fortunately, no one loved that child, so
right. We just had to replace him. We had to get a new Timmy for the show. Story-wise, we get ALF, or Gordon Shumway, as he's known on his home planet of Melmac, where his job is an orbit guard, which I guess means guarding the orbit of the planet. Melmac blows up due to a nuclear weapon war, and ALF escapes the explosion and crash lands on Earth, crashing into the house of the Tanners, and hilarity ensues. So his home planet Melmac, kind of an interesting place. I saw a rundown of some of the weird laws and facts about it, and you want to hear some facts about Melmac, Nate?
Yay.
I'll take that as a yes.
Yes.
So, it was founded 23,000 years ago by Harold Twank when he took the wrong off-ramp on his way to Neptune and found himself in the Al Dente Nebula in the Andromeda Galaxy. The planet was already inhabited by a species of salesman dinosaurs who are part salesman and part dinosaur and always looking to make a sale. We are never told what happened to these salesman dinosaurs, so I'm guessing there was probably just some colonization going on and they're all rounded up and put into camps, as is tradition.
Well, salesman's not a race. Like, that's a job they do.
It's a according to you, oh narrow-minded one, because it says right here, part salesman, part dinosaur. And that
Well,
is their race.
all
Salesman,
stupid.
dinosaur. Salesman, dinosaur. Well, then you're saying Alf is stupid.
Well, I'm saying the salesman dinosaur is stupid.
Well, what about nurse shark? Do you think a nurse shark is stupid? What about carpenter ant or a
Yes.
lawyer bird?
Well, okay, a carpenter ant is actually a thing.
Yeah, so is a nurse shark.
No, it's not.
Nurse shark? Yeah, it is.
There's no such thing as a nurse shark.
Yes, there is.
I call shenanigans. There is a nurse shark. What the fuck is that?
It's a shark, dude. It's a nurse shark.
Well, yeah, no shit.
It's right up there with a carpenter ant and all sorts of other working animals.
But again, like it's not its profession. It doesn't. It's, a nurse shark isn't like the caretaker of the sea.
How do you know that? It might have an RNA registration. Actually, on Wikipedia, the origin of the name nurse shark is currently up for debate. So,
I mean,
yeah,
I guess they're not aggressive, but that doesn't necessarily mean like just because someone's not aggressive, like oh that person did kick my ass. I guess they're aggressive.
Right. Mike Tyson didn't beat me up the one time I saw him, so therefore he's not aggressive. So now you know of an animal that exists, Nate. Nurse shark.
I learned something new today.
You did. So see, animals can have jobs despite what you think. They're called service animals. And sometimes that service is being a
those
nurse
are
or a salesman.
Those are domesticated animals that we force jobs upon them.
Ha!
It's not like the dog woke up like I want to be a service animal. I'm gonna help blind people.
I was thinking about forcing a shark to become a nurse. You're just on the bus and you're seeing this poor shark in scrubs struggling to breathe on the bus, just riding along. What are you doing? They forced me into this line of work. Kill me.
Doctor calls for a scalpel. Then Shirk like looks to the door. There's some guy standing there with sunglasses, arms crossed, shakes his head. No.
Yeah, right.
So he's
You are not
very
escaping.
reluctantly grabs the scalpel, heads to the doctor.
Using his fins, like knocking everything off the table except for the scalpel, trying to pick it up. Doctor's like, I don't know why we're doing this. We like to see the poor thing suffer, I guess.
Like, why are we doing this? There's like an actual human nurse like outside the door.
Oh, times they have changed. No.
Oh, times change. Back when we used to take animals and force them to do things they weren't supposed to be doing. Never mind with the guy behind the shark who's constantly dumping water on him so he doesn't suffocate.
See, that shark is a job creator. You need people to keep it from escaping. You need people to keep it moist, people to teach it what to do. So therefore, hey, everything's working out good. See, we need more nurse sharks in society.
And the 1 in 10 chance that shark finally loses his mind and eats the patient. Like all the blood on the ground. It's like, I can't take this anymore.
I have a problem with blood when I see it.
Right. Like, oh, I thought it meant something else.
Yep. Back to Melmac. Melmac also has green skies, blue grass, and a purple moon. Its planetary motto is, "Are you going to finish that sandwich?" Its anthem is "Dance Till You Drop" by Homer T. Swipe. Its national flower is Roger the Turnip. Figure that one out. And its national mascot is Buster the Groundhog. The 3 most valuable things on the planet are foam, bronze, and carpet. Yeah, figure that one out. Carpet, yep. Yeah, something that apparently is made is actually findable and valuable. Same with foam, I guess. Are you trying to process the whole carpet being the 3rd most valuable thing on the planet?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, and then they're all furry, so like theoretically they could like make their own carpets. Like, oh yeah,
you'd think so.
Who made this carpet? Oh, Ned. Oh, well, what's it made of? Ned.
Or that's quite why it smells like Ned.
Get away with murder. You murder your, like, I killed my whole family. Well, are you sure he killed his whole family? We can't find them. I don't know, but he turned to a carpet salesman the other day. So.
That carpet pattern looks just like your calico son. What's the deal? First pastimes, they enjoy playing booyah baseball. Get it, like booyah base, but baseball like bullion cubes. Yeah, that's one of the dumber puns I've ever seen. And also,
it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad. And yogurt mining is also big on Melmac. Apparently, you can mine yogurt. It's illegal to name your children after wood. The biggest cause of arrest was tickling a barber, and dancing with mailmen is a federal offense. And one final note, the month it blew up was called Nathan Ganger. There's Nathan in there. Yeah.
Well, if dancing with a mailman is a felony, who gets arrested? Like, is the mailman, like, do they lose a mailman if they dance with someone else, or like who is it who initiates the dancing, or if like the mailman's trying to make his own, like just kind of deliver the mail, and someone's like grinding upon him, he's walking along, like
I assume
is
that latter one. Yeah, it's like you're delaying the mailman by dancing with him. You can't delay the mail. Be my
and
guess.
so what if the mailman's enjoying it? So is he in trouble now too because he's in like, well, since you were enjoying it, you are now active participant in this grinding.
They're on a 3-strike warning system. If
Oh.
you get 3 strikes, then you're beheaded in public.
Or immediately. There's no
Yep, or
question.
immediately. Yeah, there's a van following around each mailman. A dude there with just a little pad paper, like check 1. All right, cool.
You imagine the pressure if you're like delivering mail. There's a van always watching you just in case someone comes to dance with you, and you're like cannot enjoy it.
And there you're coming up on a breakdancing crew, just like 2 blocks up ahead. You're like, oh god,
What you got?
they got their cardboard out and everything. Also, what happens if you're just like dancing near a mailman and he just starts dancing with you, unprovoked? I guess that's for the people in the van to decide. I'm pretty sure too, with what you just learned, you could pass the Melmac citizenship, Nate. This Melmac citizenship test.
Well, again, I mean, I know I'm constantly quibbling. I'm like, we're never gonna get through this if I keep on doing this. I'm gonna try to stop. But like, Melmac again, it's like the Star Wars thing. Melmac's the planet itself. So are they constantly taking in people from outside to become a Melmac? And then once you're a Melmac, like, then what? I don't know. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna let it go. I'm letting it go. I'm
Yeah,
letting it go.
I was just making up citizenship test thing. I don't even know if that exists. As far as I
Okay,
know,
I
they
thought
got
that-
open borders there.
I thought that was part of your research. Like, oh yeah, this is
No.
what they say about the planet.
No, just me adding on a little joke on the end.
Well, there you go.
Yep, there you go.
Forgive me for picking apart your joke.
You do it all the time. It's fine. It's fine. So now we got the story out of the way. We got the casting and crew to come up with. So, as far as casting went, first they had Alf Clausen do the theme song. Alf writing music for Alf. That's kind of neat. And as far as acting crew went, first they got Max Wright and Ann Sheedon playing Willie and Kate Tanner, the parents on the show. These two are actually pretty well-established actors at this point, with good acting resumes for both of them. And Max Wright was actually a very well-respected stage and film actor at this point. And that may have been why he was absolutely miserable on this set the entire time. More on that in a moment.
Oh, I can imagine. If
Yeah.
you're serious, like it's like that joke, where it's like, I was in Shakespeare.
Yeah, right.
Why they're dressed up like a clown.
I was Shakespeare in the park. You do not understand. I played Hamlet.
What's that school they always say? Like I went to.
I was trying to think of it. Juilliard, there you go. Yep.
Like he's out there on the street shaking that sign saying free car wash or something like that. I was at Juilliard. Makes you wonder how often he cried. Like he left the set, they said goodbye today, everyone left, he goes home, he walks in the house, he closes the door, he looks himself in the mirror, and just bursts into tears.
Just crying and crying.
Here we are laughing
until the
at poor
tears
bastard.
don't come out. Yeah.
But he cashed the checks. He cashed those checks.
Actually, apparently he said he mainly did the show for the money, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
He's
he was
right.
Yep. Yeah, he was like, hey, primetime network TV on NBC, hey, decent money. Actually, one role Max Wright played was Joseph Mengele in a made-for-TV movie in the early 80s, which got me thinking about what would happen if we had a movie where Alf crash landed into Mengele's house instead of the Tanner family. I feel like that wouldn't be a family show anymore. Probably more of a horror.
He'd probably be super dead.
Yeah. But it would kind of make for an interesting show if we did, though. I mean, we could have guest stars like Anne Frank in it, and maybe have the Hogan's Heroes do a special guest star kind of thing. Or it could be like Schindler's List, where everything's in black and white, but just Alf is brown running around being chased by Mengele.
Or what if, I mean, this is dark, but whatever. What if they did Schindler's List and Alf was just there and no one mentioned it? Like, it was just part of the thing. Like, the camera pans left, all this horrible stuff's going, and Alf is just standing there in the, like, little uniform fit to him.
Munching on a cat.
No one acknowledges that there's Alf there.
Right. I like that idea. The fucking Nuremberg trials are going on. There's just Alf sitting there at the desk with a microphone in front of him. So, tell me, what did you see that night?
He cracks jokes, and there's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Andrea Elson and Benji Gregory would play the kids Lynn and Brian Tanner. Andrea had a couple roles in stuff like Silver Spoons already, but as far as I can tell, this was little Benji's first acting role. While Alf was a puppet with animatronic face, they did need an actor in costume for certain long shots and walking shots, namely the one you see in the credits at the very beginning. Because basically they had the same setup as Howard the Duck, which was an actor for the far long shots where you need something wandering around and sauntering, and for the closer up stuff is animatronic puppet, a puppet with animatronic face. But for the far away shots, they hired Barnum and Bailey performer Michu Meszaros. Standing at a whopping 2'9", Hungarian-born Michu was a perfect role for Alf. As a circus performer, Michu was a poodle trainer who did poodle acts. Basically did that thing, even though like the whips and having the poodles like jump on chairs and stand up, while the announcer was like, "These dogs could murder this person right in front of your eyes. These wild beasts." This was his first movie that he did, or first show he did, but he would also go on to appear in the movies Waxwork, Big Top Pee-wee, and Look Who's Talking as the quote-unquote baby stunt performer. That'd be a cool job to have on your resume, baby stunt performer. As far as the Alf puppet itself, that was a three-man job. Paul Fusco was Alf's mouth, voice, and right hand. Lisa Buckley was the left arm, and Bob was the eyes, ears, and eyebrows, which he handled from a remote-controlled setup across the room. These four peoples would be the ones controlling Alf, but in the credits you'll only see them referred to as Alf's assistants. Nate, do you want to take a guess as to why that is? Do ya?
My guess is just that stupid ass Howard the Duck thing where they're like, "Oh no, he's real."
Bingo! Yep, Paul
go.
Fusco went the Howard the Duck route and said Alf is to be treated as a real person at all times and never referred to as a puppet. Never, ever, ever. This would be a stipulation that Fusco would have for any and all Alf guest appearances from here on out. And this thinking would actually kind of unsurprisingly bite the franchise in the ass. Because,
of course it would.
Yeah. And also add to the stress on the set because everybody on the set had to refer to Alf as Alf and treat him like a human being. And yeah, not fun times.
No one. I mean, I get it. I get it as concept. You're like, okay, we're gonna treat in our marketing, we're gonna treat this guy like oh yeah, it's real. But it's like, okay, we all know it's not. It's not. There's no real Alf here. It's fine. But to go the full way, where it's like, no, he is a living creature, and I don't know. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it really is. Especially when it's always just like this or do it this way or die kind of thing. There's no in between. There's not a, hey, well, you're on set, you can do. Yeah.
You must do it this way or else.
So, the Paul Fusco and them, they shot the pilot and sent it off to NBC, who put it on in the air. However, in NBC's eyes, the pilot episode underperformed and the show almost didn't get made, except for one thing. NBC President Tartikoff loved Alf, and his daughter loved Alf even more, and he did not want to break the poor girl's heart. So he decided to greenlight the show for initial season. So we can thank Tartikoff's daughter for this, because she loved Alf. And she's the reason that it got me. Yeah, aw. And probably there's father-daughter bonding moments.
I mean, there's a lot here that happen a lot. Like, oh yeah, my kid liked it. Like, that's why Harry Potter got made. They got that first book and the kids wrote it. The kids read it, they liked it. So he's like, well, I'll greenlight it for the kids. Then billions of dollars later, he's like, who? Yeah. What kids?
I guess, well, I got this giant pile of money, though. Kids probably drowned under it.
My kids left me. They don't speak to me anymore, but I made a child made of money, so it's all good.
Actual physical money. Originally, Fusco and the crew wanted the show to be done before a live studio audience to capture their energy for the show. However, they quickly determined that this would not work, as working with a puppet required a lot of reshoots and a lot of downtime to set the puppet back up and get everything back to square one. All of these reshoots and long reset times meant that each episode would often take about 20 hours to shoot, which is, that's actually a long time for a 30-minute episode. Honestly, I had no idea how long it takes. Huh?
That's a long time period. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Apparently, for a comparison, an episode of Friends only took 5 hours to shoot. And that was actually kind of considered on the long end for a sitcom back then. So, 20 hours, incredibly long for a sitcom. And, one thing I did learn, too, while they're doing the rehearsals for the puppet, or for the show, one thing they did that was actually pretty smart is they used one of the very, very early versions of Alf as a stand-in puppet, so they didn't do wear and tear on the main puppet, the expensive one. This crude early version of Alf was actually named Ralph, or Rehearsal Alien Life Form.
Ooh.
Yeah. Also, another little side note. This Alf was the very first show to be broadcast in Dolby Surround sound for all, 5 people who had it in their homes back then. first season is underway and the ratings are good, but the audience isn't what NBC expected. See, early Alf was a wisecracking, beer-drinking alien who is aimed at adults. But what happened was kids loved an alien who got to experience the world for the first time along with them. And this led to some reshoots that NBC had to do after some parental complaints were filed because their kids were mimicking some stuff that they saw on this show. Such as, in the first episode, you get to see Alf drinking a beer. And once they realized it was all kids, or mainly kids watching the show, NBC said, no more beer for Alf. Initially, Paul Fusco fought this idea, saying that Alf is 230 years old. He should be able to have a beer when he wants. Network said, nope, that'll get us in trouble. No more beer for Alf. So that's why you only get one scene with him. Oh, actually, I take that back. There's a second scene where I think it's like a dream sequence where he has a beer with an alcoholic or something like that. Or pretends to have a beer.
Pretends to have a beer?
Yeah, pretends to. Early on, they made a lot of cat eating jokes, since that was the food on his home planet Melmac. These comments had to be curbed because apparently someone's child somewhere decided to recreate a scene where Alf puts a cat in a microwave to cook it. No word on whether the cat was okay or not. Hard to say. So that's why they had to cut. Yeah, probably not. And another early episode they had to reshoot. Alf attempts to make take an electric mixer and turn the bathtub into a jacuzzi. Alf gets shocked and hilarity ensues. Well, somewhere in America, another child attempted that stunt and hilarity did not ensue. In fact, he died. And they had to do a complete reshoot of that scene where Alf now uses a hand mixer, and they also added a PSA-style moment, too, with Alf explaining electricity and water do not mix, which is true. Learning stuff off the sitcom.
And the problem also is it's mixed with the 1980s version of parenting, where they were just like,
latchkey
ignored
kids.
The child. Yeah, it's like he saw this thing, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this, and at no point anyone like saw him doing it or tried to stop him. They're just like, oh, what's little Timmy doing? Well, never mind.
Yep. Well, they just say, hey, Timmy, you go do whatever you want. Just be back when the streetlights come on. Another fun fact about Alf, randomly, episode 16 of Alf is a clip show. A 2-part clip show featuring the first 15 episodes, which kind of feels like a clip show speedrun as far as TV shows go. I mean, you make it 16 episodes in and you're like, we're doing a clip show. Woo!
Yay.
Yeah. Doesn't that seem kind of early to you?
It's super early.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to do a clip show. You have to wait, like, I don't know. What do you think? 3 seasons in? Maybe 4 seasons
I would think so, yeah.
I mean, 3 seasons is like pushing it. That's still a little early, but at least you've got enough footage. But yeah, I mean, at least, I don't know. I'll push it back to 4 seasons, at least.
Yeah.
That way you have enough like episodes to kind of cull from.
Yeah, they were kind of running out of ideas on Alf sort of early because of the whole setup of the thing. It's not like Alf could leave the house very easily. So they're kind of restricted to him just sort of being in the house for most of their scenes. I mean, granted, yes, he did leave now and then, but for the most part, doing that was kind of expensive and difficult. Alf's popularity was huge. It said that it was Ronald Reagan's favorite show, and now all I can picture is Nancy Reagan sitting a senile Ronnie down in front of the TV with a big Ronnie sitting around in footed PJs snacking on a bowl of jelly beans while Nancy cackles evilly. Yeah, sit here, you old mushy-minded president. Enjoy your jelly beans.
It was for him. It was for him. They're like, we need to keep the illusion.
Ha,
He's real.
ha, ha.
For Reagan.
Okay, I like that one right there.
For the Gipper.
We got to do this for the Gipper. The show was popular, but a little bit short-lived. It only lasted 4 seasons. The second season being its highest rated as it reached number 15 on the Nielsen ratings. And what follows big ratings, Nathan? Merchandise. And boy, howdy, Alf may have been the king of 1980s merchandise.
You said it wrong.
Did I?
Merchandise.
Merchandise. It's all about the merchandising. Yeah, he had so much merchandise, and he was only around for 4 years, or at the latter half of the 80s, so, I mean...
That kills me. I could swear... I mean, I don't know. I don't know how long he went on, but I thought it would have been more than that.
Yeah, it feels like more than 4 years, so it really does. 1987, and $250 million of Alf merchandise was sold that year. Coleco produced a 22-inch tall doll that accounted for $85 million of those sales. Doll cost $30 on release. Which, in 1980s money, I'm pretty sure $30 could buy you a brand new car and a house.
It wasn't there like a... I feel like there was a McDonald's toy. Am I wrong in thinking that?
There was a Burger King actually released a set of little kids meals that had puppets in them and cardboard records that you could play. and listen to Alf sing songs like "Take Me Alf to the Ball Game,"
Yes, I just
which
googled
is
the Burger King. That's what I had. I
yeah,
had the one of the Burger King dolls.
"Take Me Alf to a Ball Game" is just bad, bad. We need to take a moment to boo how that horrible joke of a song.
That's awful. Boo!
Boo,
Kill
boo.
them.
Yes, whoever came up with "Take Me Alf to the Ball Game," boo. It's probably Paul Fusco. He seems kind of have like a cheeseball sense of humor because he does most of the writing for Alf. It feels like. Also, around this time, Alf's poster outsold John Bon Jovi's poster. So there's that. I don't know if that's impressive or not, but it was a fact I saw.
Part of me it surprised me with all this merchandising or merchandising that they would have gotten rid of him. So after 4 seasons, but thinking about what you said earlier about how there really isn't much you can do with them.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah, they actually had a plan. We'll get into that in a few.
Cool.
Yeah, indeed. Alf also had a Topps trading card set that was quite popular, and I had a ton of those. Just pictures of Alf doing just Alf stuff. I remember there was a series set of them where it was every state, and Alf would be like doing something in each state. They came wrapped in wax paper instead of foil packs. Remember that back when baseball cards were wrapped in wax paper? Came with a little piece of
I
bubble
never
gum.
did baseball cards.
Right. Or any cards, I guess.
Nope.
No, you never had Alf cards, huh?
No, I never had Alf cards. I mean,
Right.
try.
I don't think the early. I think Marvel cards were in foil packs by then.
Yeah, I just was never really. I didn't do cards.
Yeah. Nope, your loss. They're fun to trade
It is my
and
loss.
exciting. And you can also get that horrible gum to cut your lips open and cut your gums. Good times. 1987, Marvel releases Alf Comics under the Star label, which is their label aimed at younger readers, kids even. 50 issues of the Alf comics over 4 years, and I actually had some of those comics, and they're pretty good, nice and imaginative. And since it wasn't tied down to a puppet, Alf could go do things other places, have like slightly more advanced adventures than just hanging out at home doing telemarketing.
Did they ever reference it? Like, in the show, they're like, "Oh man, remember that time you went to Russia?" Like, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
The original Family Guy cutaways came from Alf.
Right. I took a shot at Gorbachev. I missed.
Ha! Star Comics was also the home of Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. I had issue number of that.
Neat.
I had issue number 2 of that. Read it a lot. It was actually pretty good.
Was
I
it a
can still
crossover?
With Alf? No. 1987, the first Alf video game was released for the Atari ST and Apple II. 1988 saw a series of 5 educational games for kids. Alf teaches math, Alf teaches history, Alf teaches typing, that kind of stuff. And 1989, Sega Master System got an Alf release. I watched videos of all these games, and none of them looked good. In fact, the Sega Master...
Ayn Rand. Alf teaches Ayn Rand.
Alfless shrugs. Just a picture of Atlas Shrugged, but on the cover is just Alf just shrugging. I don't know.
The government's trying to stop you.
Alf had a music single in 1987 called Alf Stuck on Earth, where musician Ben Liebren mixed audio samples from the show and put it to a beat behind it. It was not released in the United States, but that horrible song made it to number 4 in the Netherlands and number 3 in New Zealand. That song not good, and I will forever judge those 2 countries for putting that song so high on the charts.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just like, hey, I hit number 4 on my Casio keyboard with the rumba beat. And then it's just like Alf samples from the show. It's that. It should also be noted that Alf was huge in Germany as well, probably about as big as he was in the US. And Tommy Piper, Alf's German voice actor, released a single with the voice of Alf's on-screen girlfriend. This song translated to "Hello, Alf, this is Rhonda," and it spent 12 weeks on the German charts. And also, the title of that song sounds kind of ominous in the right light. "Hello, Alf, this is Rhonda. You may want to go get checked out by a doctor. Turns out I have a thing."
I just came back from the clinic. I have bad
Yeah,
news.
I just came back from the clinic. If anything is dripping on you, you might want to go to the clinic as well. 1988, Burger King released that series of Alf puppets that comes along with the cardboard records that we just talked about. Alf doing sing-alongs. "Take Me Alf to the Ball Game." Once again, boo that song. It's bad.
Ugh.
Also, too, cardboard records. That's not something I was really aware of, to be honest. I remember those really floppy, like, thin plastic ones, but I don't really remember cardboard records.
I don't either, really.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it was a thing. They probably sounded like ass.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, cardboard is not exactly a permanent solution to anything.
No, yeah. Most things that come in a Happy Meal aren't permanent, however.
Which is probably the justification for cardboard.
Yeah. Also, it keeps them out of landfills, I guess, because it would just rot after a while.
Sure.
So, yeah. Hey, Burger King, ahead of the time, being proactive with the
Forward
environmentalism.
thinkers.
Yeah. Look at them go. Proud of you, Burger King. And that will conclude part 1 of our series on ALF. Stay tuned next week when we talk about what amazing ALF crossover we were denied, how ALF caused one of the most talked about moments of 2022, and we discuss whether or not ALF is a racist. All this and more on next week's episode. This is where the ending jingle goes. This is where the ending jingle goes. I don't know if we need one. I don't know if we'll get one. But if we do, then here is where it goes.